Starting with the greatest name of Allah, who is the creator and master of this whole beautiful universe. Assalamu alaikum. Dear students, this is me, Umar Farooq Sumro, subject teacher of Social Studies SST Class 8. Dear students, I hope all of you are fine by the blessings of Almighty Allah and by the prayers of your parents and elders. Dear students, it is our lecture number 3 of unit number or chapter number 2, book page number 14. In our previous lecture, we learned about oceans and the water cycles. Today it is time for us to read more about the waters or rains or snow. So first of all, I want to tell you that homework of previous lecture was incomplete. So no any student submitted homework or shared homework on the group. So kindly complete your previous homework first, then try to complete today's homework that I will give you in the last of the lecture. So first of all, it is your book page number 14, lecture number 3, chapter number 2, and we are going to read about high rains or high water that comes from rains. So the amount of water that falls as rain or snow on the earth varies from place to place. The heaviest rainfall ever recorded was Cherrapunji, India, over 26,700 mm. Mm means millimeters. Fell in 1 year, 1860 to 1861. This highest rainfall in a single day was on Reunion Island in the Indian Ocean when 1870 mm fell on 5 and 6 March 1952. At the other end of the scale, Atacama in northern Chile has had only 0.5 mm of rain in 43 years, and it is the driest place of the earth. This topic defines that the most or highest rainfall was in India in Cherrapunji in 1860 and 1861, and the average of water was 26,700 millimeters in 1 year. It is very large capacity, very high capacity of water, of rainwater that was fallen in Indian Ocean, and the other place was at the other end of the scale. Atacama in northern Chile has had only 0.5 mm. Here we are reading that there was an average of 26,700 mm, the most highest rainfall, and here we are reading that Atacama in northern Chile has had only 0.5 mm of rain in 43 years. 26,700 mm in 1 year and 0.5 mm in 43 years in Atacama in northern Chile, and it is called the most driest place on the earth. The average over the whole world is about 700 to 800 mm a year. The total average of rainfall in the world is total 700 to 800 mm. Now we are talking about our country, that Pakistan is not very fortunate in its rainfall. The average for the whole country is less than 250 millimeters a year. Are you getting the point that there was an average water of rainfall 26,700 mm in India in 1860 and 1861, and the average of water of rain is less than 250 mm a year, which is not really enough for good agriculture. But in many parts of the country there is a good supply of water from rivers for irrigation. Irrigation means the system of canals from which water passes through into fields for irrigation and for crops. Many crops are created by the water, and water is really necessary for crops. Okay, so but in many parts of the country there is a good supply of water from rivers for irrigation. Most of this comes from the melting snows in the northern mountains where precipitation is much higher. Precipitation means rainfall or snowfall. Changes in the world climates, however, cause more snow and ice to melt in the summer that are replaced in the next winter. Because of this, at some time in the distant future, the flow of water in the rivers of Pakistan may be much reduced. It is taken from water cycle as the water is freezed into ice in winter and is fallen down in summer season. Now we have two topics to read today, regulating the temperature and tides. We will read about them from now. The vast mass of water in the oceans heats up and cools down much more slowly than the land. On the equator, the difference in mid-oceans are constantly being stirred up by currents which carry warmer and cooler water from one place to another. Because of this, parts of the land near the sea are usually cooler in summer and warmer in winter than land further inland. The water regulates the temperature. Okay, this is largely due to winds which blow to the land from the sea. As you know that all the clouds are formed by the oceans. Okay, clouds formed by the oceans, and there can be much more cooler season at the ocean or near the ocean, or in summer, or there can be much more warmer condition or atmosphere or temperature in winter. Because of, you know that water regulates the temperature, as the water is necessary for fields and for the human life. In summer, the land gets very hot and the air above it rises. Cooler air over the sea is pulled in and keeps land near the coast much cooler. As this wind moves further and further from the ocean, warms up, and that all the winds are created from the oceans or from shores. The areas which are too close to the shores are much more cooler than the farthermost areas. And when the wind is created from the oceans, it is much cooler, and then it travels from the shore to other areas. It becomes more warmer. In winter, the land cools down rapidly, but the sea remains much the same temperature. The warmer air over the water not rises, drying the colder air over the land. In Pakistan, this merely cooled air coming across from the center of Asia. The air or cooler air or warmer air in the winter coming across from the central of Asia. The coastal areas, however, are still influenced by the Arabian Sea, which keeps the temperature mild. Okay, it is the temperature or showing the different temperature on the different sides of the country, that in January the average temperature of Karachi is 17.7 centigrade. In June, the temperature in Karachi is 31.4 centigrade, and the difference is 13.7 centigrade between the temperature of Karachi and June. And number two is Lahore. The temperature of Lahore in January is 12.2 centigrade, and in June it is 40.0 centigrade, and the difference is 27.8. Why the difference is so big? Because of Karachi has an ocean, the biggest shores, the islands. Because of that, the cooler air and warmer air in winter also creates from the shore. That's why the temperature in winter is 17.7, and in June it is 31.4 centigrade. Now we are going to read about tides, that what are tides and how are they created and formed. So if you have ever been to the coast, you will know that twice every day the sea rises so that it comes higher up at the shore, and twice a day it goes back. These are high and low tides. Dear students, have you ever been to the shore? Ever? To Karachi, or where in some areas where the sea rises and falls down. Okay, so here we have shown a picture. I will tell you more about them after this lecture. The sun and the moon act rather like magnets on the earth. We can call this force gravity. Both the sun and the moon try to pull the earth towards them, but the earth is whizzing around so fast that they cannot move it. The seas and oceans, however, are loose on the surface and can be pulled by gravity into heaps. Dear students, tides means the waves are rising up and down. Tides means rising of waves from oceans up and down is called a tide. So it is called earth. It is low tide. It is high tide in spring. Sun and moon pulling together. So as you know, the sun is above the earth and moon is in between the sun and earth. So as we read that sun and moon works like a magnet, and moon and sun try to pull the earth towards them, to upwards. And have you ever been to the shore when it is date of the moon for 13th, 14th, 15th or 16th? क्या आप लोग कभी भी चांद की जो तारीख़ होती है हमारे इस्लामी मंथ की, उसमें 13, 14, 15 या 16 के डेज़ पे गए हैं? अगर आप गए हैं तो यकीनन आपको शोर और बीच वगैरह बिल्कुल बंद मिलेंगे. क्यों? कि सन और मून, बेसिकली जो मून है, मून हैज़ अ ग्रेविटी टू पुल द वाटर अपवर्ड्स टू इटसेल्फ. मून में ये ग्रेविटी है कि वो पानी को अपनी तरफ खींच ले जा सकता है. बट जो अर्थ है वो बहुत ही ज़्यादा स्पीड में और बहुत ही फोर्स के साथ मूव होता है. इसलिए मूव होने के साथ ये मून उसे अपनी तरफ इतना जल्दी खींच नहीं सकता, ना खींच सकता है. बट मून हैव आल्सो ग्रेविटी. मून में ये ग्रेविटी है. और जब ये डेट्स होती हैं 13, 14, 15 और 16, तो इसलिए शोर्स और बीच ये बंद किए जाते हैं, बिकॉज the water rises too high in these days. कि पानी इन दिनों में बहुत ही ज़्यादा ऊपर बढ़ता है, because the moon tries to pull it up, to pull the water up to itself. moon कोशिश करता है इस पानी को अपनी तरफ खींचने की. so there are too many big waves of water in the dates of 13, 14 or 14, 15 in Islamic months. Okay, so dear students, this was your lecture. Now I am giving you your homework that you have to read book page number 16, 17 and 18. You don't have to make any assignment of it, but you generally have to read the book page numbers 16, 17 and 18. We will meet inshallah in our next lecture. Still give me permission to end the lecture here. Allah Hafiz.